Well, we've turned the corner and September is here. What's up, everybody? I'm Jim Rodriguez, and welcome to the Tuesday here on Dodgers Latest. Hope you had a good 3-day weekend. Dodgers were off on Labor Day. Inexplicably, I don't know why Major League Baseball doesn't do that. I mean, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, everybody's got to play. Meanwhile, Dodgers were traveling, and they open up a 6-game road trip. We'll get into that shortly, but I want to remind you, of course, that, hey, right here, you can hit me up on Instagram and on X at JRodShow. We've done great numbers of late, and that's thanks to you. So please continue to subscribe, like, share. Let us know what you think. We always love to hear your comments, and we're coming up on a milestone episode, so we're going to celebrate that as we get closer. All right, so let's get started. Yeah, Dodgers starting a 6-game road trip. They go to Pittsburgh and to Baltimore. Now, let's break down how this affects everybody else. While the Dodgers are in Pittsburgh and Baltimore, San Diego is hosting Baltimore, and then they go to Denver to play the Rockies. The Phillies, they're on the road. They're currently in Milwaukee, and then they go to Miami to play the Marlins. How is that all shaped up? Well, the Dodgers have a 2.5-game lead over the Padres in the National League West. They still are the 3 seed, though, and they're a game and a half behind Philadelphia there. Remember, the Dodgers and Phillies still have to play one more series. It's going to be September 15th through the 17th at Dodger Stadium. Phillies took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers way back in April, so they currently have the tiebreaker in addition to that game and a half lead in the National League. It's all about not wanting to play that first-round wild card series where you basically, it's a best of 3 even though there is no travel. Dodgers currently would have the home games in that, and they would play the Mets right now if the playoffs began. But they don't. Dodgers still have an opportunity to catch the Phils for the number 2 spot, and of course bury the Padres, who have been now, they're the ones that are marred with injury now. Tatis is hurt. Jason Adams may be done for the year as he blew out his quad. Tough to see that. That vaunted Padre bullpen takes a big blow. So we'll see how that pretty much shakes up the rest of the way. So the Dodgers opening up a series in Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and this is a huge stretch for the Dodgers. They play 3 straight series now, 9 games against teams that are in last place in their division. Pirates today through Thursday, the weekend in Baltimore, and the Dodgers come home and host the Rockies. So this is the time where the Dodgers have got to make some hay. I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration for the expectation to be at least 7-2, get at least one of these series has to be swept. They have to sweep the team. 7-2, I think, is definitely an expectation. 8-1 would be brilliant because the Padres are playing bad teams too, and then they're playing the Orioles and the Rockies as well. So it'll be an interesting week to see how it all shapes up for the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw's on the mound tonight. Ohtani tomorrow in Pittsburgh, and then they'll get the getaway day in Pittsburgh. We'll have Blake Snell on the mound. So the Dodgers are going with the heavy hitters on the mound of Kershaw, Ohtani, and Snell against the lowly Pirates. Speaking of the lowly Pirates, and speaking of an old friend, Dodgers have signed Andrew Heaney. That's right. Remember Andrew Heaney? We talked about him as possible trade bait as the Dodgers got close to the trading deadline. Well, the Pirates basically DFA'd. They released Andrew Heaney, and who had a pretty much bad year. The left-hander is 34 years old. He was 5-12 for the Pirates, lost his starting job, ended up being thrown in the bullpen and eventually released. ERA of 5.39. Now, he had probably his best full season as a Dodger. Remember, he was on the 2022 team, had an ERA of 3.10 in 16 appearances, 14 of those starts, ended up parlaying that year into a nice deal with the Rangers, was part of the Rangers World Series winning team in 23, in fact, got the win in Game 4 of the World Series. Now, where does Andrew Heaney fit in all this? Well, I don't think he's going to be in the rotation. I don't even know if he'll be on the playoff roster, although he did get signed before the noon deadline yesterday, so he is eligible to play in the playoffs for the Dodgers. You had to be on the active roster, you had to be on the 40-man roster or on the IL by noon yesterday. So the Dodgers ended up signing him, put him on the roster, and he is eligible for the postseason. I think he is just going to be there, whether if a game gets away in September, or they're up big or they're down big or they've clinched and they've put teams away. I think Andrew Heaney right now is pitching for next year, trying to get himself a deal with maybe the Dodgers or maybe someone else to try to see where his future lies if he still wants to continue pitching at 34 years old. I guess what I'm saying is if Andrew Heaney is on the Dodgers postseason roster and it has nothing to do with ability, that means something's gone terribly wrong with one of the Dodgers starters and or relievers. But it'll be good to see the lefty back in Dodger blue. He's been assigned to AAA Oklahoma City, which in fact is where he lives. So he's going to be there probably a couple of days, probably a week to get himself, stretched out again. He hasn't pitched in a while since the Pirates released him about a couple of weeks ago. So then my guess is when the Dodgers get back home against the Rockies, or maybe next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend when the Dodgers are in San Francisco. And by the way, the Giants all of a sudden, they're back to 500 and they're knocking on the doors of the Mets in that final wild card spot. So Dodgers still have 2 more series with the Giants. September is not going to be easy for LA. It's going to be interesting. And, of course, we'll have it all for you here on Dodgers Latest. All right, speaking of latest, well, the Dodgers have activated 2 more guys. Remember, September 1st, you can expand your rosters. And the Dodgers have activated Ha-Seong Kim and Michael Kopech off the IL. Kim was hitting .304 with 12 stolen bases. Hasn't played in a game since July 28th. Was dealing with some shoulder problems. So the Dodgers went ahead and put him on the IL. And then Michael Kopech, who it's been a rough year for him, right? He started the year on the IL, came back in 8 appearances, had 7 scoreless innings. So he's got an ERA of 0, was pitching well, and then he needed knee surgery to repair his meniscus. So he hasn't pitched since June 26th, but he's back. And the Dodgers get more help in that bullpen. Again, at the end of the day, for all the problems and all the injuries that the Dodgers have had during this obviously turbulent, bumpy season, they're still in first place. They're still challenging for the number 2 seed in the National League, and now they've gotten healthy. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, is a testament of that. As in other words, not putting an entire season of stress on your elbows, on your shoulders, on your knees, whatever it is, whatever position, whatever you do well. It's that rest. So the Dodgers are getting healthy, fresh as they make the final push in September, and of course, get ready for the postseason in October, as the Dodgers right now sit as the 3rd seed in the National League. They would play the 6th seed in the first round of the wild card series. So the Dodgers trying to get out of that, just because a best of 3, even though there's no travel, even though they would have all the home games, you don't want to get into that. That's definitely, no pun intended, a wild card situation. But now it'll be great to see Kopech and Kim back in the lineup. And that brings us to our last topic, the future of Michael Conforto. Now, the Dodgers have pretty much said, listen, it's a merit system now. We saw the Dodgers bench Teoscar Hernandez. And Michael Conforto, it's inexplicable why he's still in the lineup, right? But he's hitting a .190, .163 with runners in scoring position. Although the last 7 games, he's actually started to hit better. He's hitting over 300. But I think the return of Ha-Seong Kim is now really going to make it or break it for Conforto. Because remember, Kim's an infielder, but he has been playing the outfield. He tried to learn that in Oklahoma City, in AAA. And I think we're going to see Kim now playing more left field in situations. So maybe Conforto, maybe the experiment, maybe the arrogance, maybe the not budging from the Dodgers organization on Michael Conforto, maybe that's going to change now, as now they've got more weapons. They're healthier. Kike Hernandez is back. Ha-Seong Kim is now back. Pages can play multiple outfield spots. Teoscar Hernandez even got put on notice by being benched. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do from Conforto, and it'll be interesting to see when the Dodgers have to create a playoff roster, who's in and who's out. That's really going to be telling to see if Conforto will be on the Dodgers playoff roster. And you can change it from series to series, right? So the roster you turn in for the wild card series, if the Dodgers should play that, doesn't have to be the same one for the League Championship Series. It doesn't need to be the same one for the World Series. So it'll be interesting to see. Would love to hear your comments, what they should do with Conforto. They're not going to release him at this point. The $17 million at this point, you're a month away in the season. But do you keep him on the roster? Do you bench him? Do you make him a pinch hitter? I don't know what you do, because Defensively, he's not exactly, he's not winning the spot because of his defense. We've seen him kind of not get to balls, kind of like Teoscar out there, but at least Teoscar, even though he's been in a slump, has been more productive than Conforto. Interesting to see as this last push, this last month of the season, as the Dodgers get ready to try to win the division again, try to get to the playoffs again, and now the question is, where will they be in terms of seeding? I'll tell you what, that series against Philadelphia is going to be titanic at Dodger Stadium, September 15th through the 17th. And don't sleep, they still got 2 series with the Giants, and they end the year in Seattle, which is going to be very interesting to see. The Mariners are fighting for that last wild card spot, and they're even thinking higher ground. They're only a couple games back of the Astros for the division lead. So it's still a lot of baseball to be played, and the Dodgers, even though they're in a stretch now where they're playing 3 last place teams, this is why it's so important. A 7-2 and 8-1 would be brilliant to try to maybe put the Padres to bed and try to catch those Phillies for the number 2 seed. Pirates this week, then the Dodgers go to Baltimore. We'll have it all for you here on Dodgers Latest. Remember to hit me up on Instagram and on X at JRodShow. Love your comments. Like, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll tell you all about it. I'm Jim Rodriguez. Let's have a good week, because it's always time for Dodger baseball.